Hey everyone, welcome to Eagles Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Marisa Pilla with Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. And the Philadelphia Eagles are 5-0 for the first time since way back of last year. And it feels good, guys. And Ike, I'll let you do your thing, man.
It does, and this never gets old. Victory! Woo! That's 5-0, baby.
On that one.
I think
felt good.
we need a clock on the corner.
Yeah,
Time these every. You got to try to top your score every single time.
Well, you know what I did this time? I made sure I took a deep breath before I did it. So, yeah, I was able to hold that one longer, and it was well-deserving.
I feel like you've done this long enough that you have had that technique like honed in by this point. You had plenty of practice at it with the last couple of years.
You're mid-season form, my friend.
Well, the thing is, it's the excitement of the game that typically gets me, which I can't prepare for. So sometimes I'm just overly excited, and I need to give you a long one. And then there's some wins that are win is a win, and we just give you one.
That's right.
So, but no, in all seriousness, 5-0 out to the West Coast. What an outstanding game. The score may not be indicative of how dominant of a performance this was for the Philadelphia Eagles from a totality standpoint. Offensively, defensively, special teams, I thought all three phases of the game showed up today. First half of the game, we saw the scoring from both teams, 17-14 at halftime. And then the second half of the game, my goodness, the Eagles defense in the second half of the game to shut down this Rams offense. What an outstanding job from Fran Duffy and his guys.
And another game where, yes, there's meat left on the bone, right? It was not a perfect win by any stretch of the imagination, but you love being able to go out on the road, a West Coast trip, which is always tough. Some of your best players on the sideline for this game, right? No Fletcher Cox once again, some more shuffling in the secondary, but you come out of this, the offense performed at a very high rate in this game. They were able to throw the ball at will. Yes, missed opportunities. We'll talk about some of that as well. Defensively, I mean, what was it? It was no points allowed in the second half. 4 straight drives that ended with a punt. You had the end of the game there. You had a couple sacks from Hassan Reddick down the stretch. Some outstanding adjustments on that side of the football. So a lot to talk about, a lot to dig into with this win.
Well, let's dig into it, guys. That's why we're here. Okay, they're 5-0 for the 4th time in franchise history. And we kind of talked about heading into this game that, okay, there's some aspects about this Rams team that when lined up against maybe some of the Eagles' weaknesses, it favors the Rams. I mean, Cooper Kupp came back, which was huge, especially considering how the Eagles' secondary hasn't been at their top of the game this whole season. So how are we going to handle Cooper Kupp? How are we going to handle Puka Nacua? And then Aaron Donald. And they seem, as you said, this game really started off like for like. It was TD, punt, a field goal, and then TD to end it off. Yeah. Only 7 plays total in the entire first half. How do those stats and how, if you just saw it on paper, really speak to the real story of this first half?
Well, when we talk about adjustments, right, you come out in the first half, give Sean McVay and his guys a lot of credit. You knew this was going to be a difficult offense to sort of get a feel for early in the game. Sean McVay wants to give you different formations to sort of confuse the defense. I thought they had some success with that. Cooper Kupp, first game back, he did a nice job in that first half. Puka Nacua got the touchdown in the first half. And the Rams looked like they had sort of solved what the Eagles wanted to do defensively. But this is where Fran Duffy and his adjustments at halftime come into play, because they came out in the second half and a lot of those passing plays that were open in the slot position, they just weren't available in the second half. Defensive line, Jalen Carter in the second half. You talked about Hassan Reddick late in the game with big plays. But predominantly, we know what it was in the second half. It was the Eagles' offense controlling the time of possession and controlling the clock. I always say complementary football is the best football. And the Eagles are shorthanded on the defensive side of the ball, so you needed your offense to sustain drives and sort of help them out from a defensive standpoint. And that's what you got in the second half. Total domination by the offense, and the defense remained fresh. And when they were out on the field, they were able to get off the field against that Rams offense.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that stood out was just the second half adjustments because we saw first drive, Cooper Kupp, like you mentioned, 5 catches for 58 yards. Just on that opening drive, Nakua comes out. He gets the touchdown against James Bradbury on the 3rd possession. And that was it. Those were the last points for the LA Rams. And really, there was one play that stood out to me from the first half where you started to see things kind of swing in the Eagles' defensive favor. It was a sack from Jalen Carter, but it was actually what happened on the back end, at least from what we could see, that kind of stood out to me. Now, again, it was these bunch sets that really stood out as a big weapon for the Rams. Coming into this game, they did more bunch than anybody. But look at what the Eagles did here. They started to do what's called a box call or 4 over 3. You've got the safety deep, 3 defenders. So you've got 4 over 3. What that means is you are going to rely on that 4-man rush. You're not going to be blitzing. You're going to keep those extra defenders in coverage. Matthew Stafford's looking towards the bunch set, but there's nowhere to go with the football. Like, I can't wait to go through the film here. But Hassan Reddick, he's going to pressure Matthew Stafford. You relied on that 4-man rush. Your 4-man rush was able to get home. It forces Stafford to step up, and he gets right into Jalen Carter's waiting arms for the sack. So you're going to make sure you divert extra defenders over those bunch looks. It's 4 over 3. Get Stafford off that first read and allow that defensive line to get home. To me, that was one of many adjustments that we saw, but I'm excited to kind of go dig into the film and really kind of get into the nitty-gritty of what we saw in this game.
You're so on point when you talk about the defense playing sort of mirroring each other. You got the rush up front, and then you got that box set against the 3. What I like when I looked at that play just there is how calm and relaxed all the defenders are there. They're passing off the wide receivers. All right, I'll take the first one coming in. That's Anthony Morrow. He's there. Then you got the cornerback on the outside hooking up on the button hook with Cooper Kupp, and then you got the safety over the top for the 7 route. You control these bunch sets by communicating with each other and just really passing them off. And that's what they were able to do there. Matthew Stafford had to hold the ball. That allowed Jalen Carter to get to him and Hassan Reddick get to him for that sack late in the first half.
And what I love about Jalen Carter having the game he had is that there was no Fletcher Cox out in the field.
Yep.
And we've talked about that pairing all season long about how much the youth of Jalen Carter has added to what we've seen from Fletcher Cox, but also his veteranship helping Carter getting used to playing in this league. Not that it looks like he needs a lot of help. The guy's doing pretty well on his own. But to not have that, not safety blanket, but that support in somebody like Fletcher Cox, for him to show up and do it again. He's the 3rd Eagle to produce 3.5 plus sacks in his first 5 career games. Corey Simon had 4, Reggie White had 4.5. And I think that's just amazing that he was able to do that on his own and learn as much as he could with Fletcher Cox and then do it without him as well.
Yeah, and that's what the young guys have to do, right? When the big dog is not out there, the wise old veteran and Fletcher Cox, it's time for the young guys to sort of step up and show that they can carry the load. And the future is bright when you talk about Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. I mean, we see it every week. We see the flashes every week. We see the dominant play from either guy every week in the run game, in the passing game. And not having Fletcher Cox out there, I got to admit, I was a little worried about the depth there, right? I'm wondering, okay, how good are we going to hold up for 4 quarters without having Fletcher out there? Milton Williams, I saw him on a great pass rush, him getting pressure on the quarterback. So really what it allowed for the young guys to take advantage of the opportunity and give the young guys a lot of credit. They took advantage of their opportunities today.
It feels like every week, you go back through the film and there are always players that flash one way or another. You're like, oh, I didn't see that when I was watching live on Sunday. But you go back through the film, it feels like Milton Williams might be that guy.
Always.
Me saying that now makes me think, all right, well, maybe he's not going to be that guy because he stood out enough watching it live. But run game, pass game, I thought number 93 showed up well in this game as well.
Yeah, and talking about the defense heading into it, we said the secondary was always a bit of a question mark, just knowing Cooper Kupp was coming back into this game. And I kind of had in notes, the best offense sometimes is a good defense, and the best defense sometimes is a good pass rush. And it seemed like those things really just lined up for the Eagles really today. And as you said, it had a lot to do with the adjustments and the reads. And that was something that wasn't always clicking in the first 4 games of the season, that those adjustments maybe were there, but the execution wasn't quite at 100%.
All right, we get James Bradbury back on the outside in his natural position where I think he fits best at. They rotated what they wanted to do in the slot position today. Bradley Roby got a few plays in there. They rotated some other guys in there. Ricks, I believe, was in there as well, playing slot. But I think there was less confusion on the back end. There was less confusion on the back end. Roles were clearly defined. And more importantly, I thought the pass rush up front got out to Matthew Stafford. A lot of passes, particularly in the second half of Matthew Stafford, were underneath throws he had to get rid of the football sooner than he wanted to. And when your back end of your defense is depleted with guys that are injured or what have you, and you got some new guys out there, you're going to need your guys up front to step up and sort of help out a little bit and take some of that pressure off your back end. And I thought that's what you saw in the second half, whereas the front four certainly got after Matthew Stafford, and it allowed that back end of the defense to sort of fit into their roles and understand what they wanted to do. And they forced the Rams into some predictable second and long, third and long situations, which allows the defense to sort of dictate what they want to do versus playing on their heels.
And that's the thing, is that it's a full team effort when you're talking about being able to get off the field against this Rams offense. And yes, 14 points, the first two of the first three drives, you're like, all right, how do we rebound now? And I think the Eagles really did a good job of saying, okay, Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see exactly what adjustments we're going to make. Even on that touchdown drive, I thought Greg Olsen did a great job on the broadcast, of pointing out, you saw that the Eagles made that adjustment where they're going to play 4 over 3. Yeah. They just went to the opposite side. He went to Nakua, the one-on-one matchup. Nakua made a great play over James Bradbury on the fade route over the shoulder for the touchdown. So I think when you look at it, the Eagles made adjustments early on in this game, and they were able to capitalize.
Let's switch to the Eagles' offensive side of the ball, because to me this was the most variety we have seen from the Eagles this entire season, and we've seen them just show a lot of different looks. And we saw Jalen Hurts actually get to run and designed run plays for him. And I want to point out that, in the first couple games of the season, the run game heavily outweighed the pass game. And we kept asking questions of, when is this going to even out? When are things going to start to even out? When are we going to see Jalen run? And this was the game for that. It was a 52-47 split between pass plays and run plays today. And Jalen Hurts also took off, and he looked great. So why did that work so well? Why was today the day to get this thing going?
The flexibility of this offense. We say it every week. The beauty of this offense is you can't pigeonhole them into being one style of an offense. You can't say they're a throwing game, RPOs, or the running game. No, they're going to allow you to say, okay, this is what you want to take away from us. Well, we can go in the opposite direction. So I thought that while there was room in the running game for the Eagles today, particularly with the quarterback runs, I saw a few quarterback design running plays there. Love seeing that. Love seeing Jalen being a part of the running game there. But this Rams defense, man, there's not a lot of your well-known names on that side of the ball, particularly in the secondary. There is no Jalen Ramsey. These guys aren't back there, so there was going to be opportunities in the passing game to make big plays, and I'm glad the Eagles sought to exploit that against this Rams defense as well. Because as a defense, when you're hitting me with the running game as well as the passing game, now I don't know where to defend you at. Jalen, great job today with him finding A.J. Brown down the field. And how about Dallas Goedert? His best game of the season, getting back into the offense, red zone touchdown early in the game. But more importantly, you could tell that Jalen was looking for Dallas Goedert today. There were some things in there that was designed for Dallas to be a focal point of the offense. And you can see when you decide to make him a focal point of the offense in your passing game, this is what he can do for you. This is the beauty of having guys like Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown in your passing game. And even the running backs got involved in the passing game today.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you look at the way that this offense operated today, is that you had 2 70-yard rushers in Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift. You had 2 110-yard receivers in A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. So when you're able to spread the wealth that way, it just makes you really difficult to stop. And that's what made this team so difficult to defend a year ago, is that you've got A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and then you have the run game and the multi-layeredness of that rushing attack, the way that they can attack you in so many different ways. It makes this offense so difficult to stop. But to me, one of the plays that stood out to me, Ike, we talk about getting Goddard into the end zone, which, by the way, you predicted this week on Eagles Game Plan. Shout out to you. But that opening drive, getting Dallas Goedert into the end zone, I want to look at that play, because to me, yes, it was a great concept to get Goddard open, but I love this from Jalen Hurts on this play. Now, this is a simple high-low in the red zone where you're going to get Devontae Smith running around at the goal line and Dallas Goedert working to the back of the end zone. Now, if you look to the left side, Jalen Hurts starts there, all right? And that's the big part of this, is that you've got what the Rams did here is exactly what the Eagles did. They're playing 4 over 3 to that side. You've got 3 Eagles-eligible receivers to that side, 4 defenders. But look at Jalen Hurts. He's got his eyes to the left. He's looking at A.J. Brown. So that's safety in the middle of the field. He's got to respect that, right? Should he pay attention to Dallas Goedert, or does he have to pay attention to A.J. Brown? So even though he's got responsibility on the backside here, he's got eyes for A.J. You've got this route from Devontae holding those underneath defenders, and there's going to be just enough room there for Jalen Hurts to be able to squeeze this in. Watch where Jalen Hurts puts this ball, though. This safety's in a tough spot, but look at the throw from Jalen Hurts. He puts it on the inside shoulder away from the safety. That is big time from Jalen Hurts. The eye manipulation of the safety, then the ball placement there in the red zone in a tight area. That is big time execution from this Eagles offense in that part of the field. And we'll talk about, obviously, what did they finish? 2 for 4 today in the red zone. Again, it wasn't a great day down there, but to start the game off that way, it was a 12-play drive, very methodical way to move the football down the field. You love to see that from the Eagles offense.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert hadn't scored a regular season touchdown since week 10 of last year. So I think it's safe to say it was nice to see the big guy back there in the end zone. 8 receptions, 117 yards today with that touchdown. Leading into today, all 4 games combined, 13 receptions for 88 yards. So he blew away the first 4 games of the season for him. Those matchups, as you said, just benefited Goddard too, because it's very much a pick your poison when it comes to these opposition defenses. They really have to decide, who am I going to give my most attention to? What matchups in particular really benefited Goddard?
Well, I'll tell you, anytime you get him matched up against a linebacker, right, he's going to have more athleticism. He's going to be able to make plays over safeties, over corners with just his size. It's really, with Dallas Goedert, about ball placement. You put the ball in the right place, he's usually going to catch it. Usually his matchups, he has the advantage over his defenders. It's just the fact that he's, 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds, and he's agile. He's a pretty good athlete even after he catches the ball. So it makes it difficult for defenders, particularly linebackers and safety, to have to cover him. But what a beautiful problem to have if you're Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni, trying to figure out, how do I get these guys the ball every week, and how do we exploit certain plays? Because these are the type of weapons they have on the offensive side of the ball. It's a good problem to have when you're trying to figure out, which guy do I get the ball to, and how do we take advantage of the mismatches that we have on offense.
And that's the thing, is that every week it's going to change in terms of who is going to be that prime receiver, right? So last week against Washington, there were a number of those big plays. You think of that A.J. Brown, I think it was a 28-yarder down the left sideline. Devontae Smith, his big post over the top in the first half. The big A.J. Brown touchdown early on where they faked the screen to Goddard. All 3 of those plays, Dallas Goedert had a big impact on the play in terms of distracting the defense. Then you go back to this week, and the play I just broke down, who's the decoy there underneath? It's Devontae Smith, right? So all these guys are going to take turns in terms of impacting, and everybody lets their cool heads prevail and say, hey, you know what? Today's not my day. Devontae Smith, he didn't have a catch until what? Was it late second quarter, early third quarter? But we know, hey, next week, the week after that, I'm going to have my time. These guys all know that there's only one football to go around. Wait my turn. I know I'm going to get mine. Those guys are all just doing the dirty work to help each other.
I tell you what, it's number 11's day every Sunday. It's number 11's day every Sunday. I don't care what anybody else says. Get this guy to football, man. I mean, my goodness. You're looking at one of the he reminds me so much of, there's a little bit of T.O. in him from the standpoint of his physical size and how he's physical after the catch. Then there's some Anquan Bolden in there where, he has toughness in him, a little bit of Debo Samuel. Like, that's A.J. Brown, man. The catch he made before the half, the one-handed catch that led to the score to put us up 17-14. My goodness, this dude, man, he makes some of the toughest catch, and he's physical every time he catches the ball. Like, these DBs don't want to tackle him after he catches the football. Man, A.J. Brown is what a true number 1 wide receiver looks like. He has the mentality of that guy, and he plays the position unlike most wide receivers play the position. And that's a security blanket you want to have. So Jalen is going to look for him on a week-to-week basis, and quite frankly, he should.
Yeah, can you blame him?
Yeah, right, exactly right. The way he's producing, you can't.
No, and I think, heading into today, there's been a lot of talk, we're 4-0, but, we're 4-0, but, and there's all these little asterisks. They haven't played their best, and we don't look good here, we don't look good there. Can people wake up tomorrow morning and be satisfied with this win?
I don't know how you can't be. This was a tough game. You're going out to Los Angeles. That's a team that's playing at home, even though, shout out to Eagles fans that made it sound like an Eagles home game, as they usually do when they go out to Los Angeles. But this could have very easily been a game where the Eagles came out and played sloppy. The Rams could have been hot, and next thing you know, you look up in the fourth quarter, you're in a one-possession game, and the Rams could have stolen the game very easily. So I think this is one of those mentally tough wins that when you look back on the season, and you're in the NFC, like there's no wiggle room. When you look at the other two teams at the top of this conference, they're winning. Detroit won today. They're at 4-1. So the way postseason is set up now, there's only one bye week. And I know it's early to be talking about the playoffs, but this is why every game matters. This is why you can't give away games. This is also why when you're sitting at 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, you can't take it for granted.
Yep.
We can nitpick about certain things, but the bottom line is a win is a win.
Yeah, you can go back to post-game shows from last year, late in the season, where we were saying, like, yeah, remember those wins where everyone was complaining and, like, early in September and October, and we were sitting here like, no, we don't remember. We don't remember the complaining because all we know is that it had that W attached to it at the very end, and that is the most important thing. And so, especially when you look ahead to this Eagles schedule, it's gonna be tough here in the coming weeks. So you want to be able to stack as many of those wins as possible going into those tough stretches of the calendar.
Yeah, this was, especially for a road game, this was a game that they needed to get out of there with a win because, as you said, the road down the stretch is really, really tough, especially some of those road games coming up. But I want to go back to the offensive plays. This was the first time this season 3 drives of over 12-plus plays. And I think that spoke volumes to, as we said, the variety that was available to Jalen Hurts, what he was able to accomplish, but also just how he managed the game so well. What did it all come down to be able to stretch those drives the way he did?
Winning on first and second down, getting positive yards, getting positive blades of grass. Because if you go back through the drives, they're not all big plays, evidently, because you got 12-plus plays in a drive. So there are some plays in there where you got to third down and you needed to convert on third down or you needed to convert on fourth down. And that's because you're winning early in the series. And when you do that, it gives this Eagles team the opportunity to be aggressive. I think the book is out on us as a football team. We are an aggressive-minded football team. You can almost say anytime we get near that midfield, 50-yard line, we are a 4-down sort of type of football team. If it gets within a certain manageable yardage, we're going to go for it. And that turns into longer drives, and I love that. I love the fact that we don't leave any possession empty. We're going to get the most out of every possession. And if there's an opportunity to extend that drive, the Eagles are going to do it, and that's why they had 3+ drives of over 12 plays.
Yeah, 13 of 18 on third down, and a couple of fourth down conversions in there. And that's to Ike's point that you are excelling on first and second down. They ran a graphic late in the game where the average distance to go on third down for the Eagles was under 5 yards. So if you're averaging 3rd and 4, yeah, that's a much more manageable situation than what the Rams were looking at. And I don't have exactly what that number was, but just going through my notes, I'm seeing 3rd and 10, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. That's tough to rebound from if you're an offense. And so especially when you got that Eagles defensive line getting after you. They had Aaron Donald on the other side. By the way, shut out again by this Eagles offensive front. One of 2 teams in the league Aaron Donald does not have a sack against. And I think a lot of that has to do with just excelling on first and second down. Keep the chains moving. Stay ahead of the sticks. Don't let the pass rush get after you on those 3rd and long situations.
It's amazing. I mean, Aaron Donald is arguably the greatest defensive player of our generation, this past generation of NFL players. And the amount of times that we've played the Rams and the fact that they've been able to sort of control him and not let him wreck games, not let him just wreak havoc, that's a true testament to Jeff Stoutland, his coaching, and those guys up front, their attention to detail and having the right game plan to not allow number 99 to wreck a game. Because believe me, every coach goes into the game saying, we can't let Aaron Donald wreck the game. And he's on his way to the Hall of Fame already because coaches fail at being able to shut him out. And the fact that the Eagles have done such a great job at him, like I said, that's a testament to Jeff Stoutland and his guys.
Yeah, it's like a certain play that we're not allowed to talk about in terms of the quarterback sneak. We should ban it. The NFL should ban teams shutting out Aaron Donald. Yeah. Everybody can do it. Teams should shut it out. But no, it's just an outstanding execution from this offensive.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni, heading into today, said he's the type of player you need to know where he is every single play. And the offensive line was like, okay, here he is, and I'm going to make sure he doesn't get to do anything. I think he had 5 total tackles on the day. He really was a non-factor. We hardly heard his name being mentioned unless they were giving a stat or talking about, his career accolades. And that, as you said, just speaks volumes to this offensive line, because we know this offensive line is one of the best, if not the best in the league, but they just put it on paper and put from paper onto the screen, like, this is why, because we can stop him and we can make our game completely revolve without his interference.
Yeah, 1 sack given up today. So another good job by this offensive line. There were several plays out there where I know they were out there blocking for 4 or 5 seconds, and I'm yelling again, Jalen, run, take off. So,
it's true. I was there.
To his credit, and in some of those instances, he's able to sit back there and allow receivers to get open, and he's able to hit those receivers.
Yep.
But we've mentioned this over the past couple of weeks that there's been times throughout games where the offensive line is blocking for 4 or 5 seconds. And, man, that's just when you got a quarterback who scrambles, that can be difficult for you. And the fact that they're doing a great job of holding up in their protection and giving him opportunities to allow plays to develop downfield. And then give Jalen credit that, it's always tricky when you say, do you leave the pocket too soon or do you stay in there too long? That's something he has to have a feel for. And he's been doing a great job of that. And I thought today he did another outstanding job of that today. I thought the offensive line did a great job blocking for him.
That's the thing, is I feel like when we watch it on TV, it's like, oh, like Jalen left the pocket early. Sometimes that is the right thing to do
Yes.
in some of those situations. Yes, go and create, leverage those legs, leverage that athleticism, and go and try and make a play. Sometimes it is too early, but not all of those times. Really quickly, just while we're talking about the offensive line and the game plan, I mean, we circled the fact that, it's Sua Opeta stepping in there as the backup right guard. And did we hear Opeta's name called once today? No, not at all. So I think, again, that just speaks to the coaching and development from Jeff Stoutland, that entire offensive staff, and the development staff as well upstairs. Just a great job from this Eagles organization getting these guys ready to play this football game.
And that goes back to the preseason approach and how everybody was like, oh, none of the starters, played in the preseason. But that's where Opeta got those reps, and that's where he got that time to really get used to everything and be ready, because he's not going to get those snaps as much as he did today in a regular season game. So I think it's important to point that out. But we did mention the red zone efficiency, because that quite hasn't been up to snuff. They were 2 for 6 today. Yeah. When does it become a level of concern?
When we lose a game because of, just to be honest with you. In all seriousness, I'm sure it's a concern for the team, for the coaches. We've heard them talk about this over the past couple of weeks. Even in victory, they've talked about leaving meat on the bone and being able to take advantage of opportunities. They move the ball in between the 20s with regularity, but you got to be able to cash in when you get down there in the red zone. Kicking field goals is great. We know how great Jake Elliott is, but even Jake Elliott will tell you, I probably kicked too many field goals over the first 5 games of the season, and you'll like to have some of those transferred into touchdowns. It's just, you know what it is, Marisa? It's a reminder that even sitting at 5-0, there's still room for improvement.
Yep.
There's still areas that they need to get better in. And I thought that first touchdown that you broke down with Dallas Goedert, that's a prime example in the red area where you see sort of a play that's designed to get a guy open in the red zone. So it's different reasons why they don't score down there. Like we had the interception down there in the end zone. I know Jalen probably wants that throw back. He could have made a better throw. It was a good play there. The last red zone, we don't want to count that because
you're sitting on the ball.
Yeah, you're sitting on the ball. So there are areas that, that's an area they certainly need to improve upon, but I don't think they're as far off as it may seem. They're right there when it comes to that red zone.
Right. Stats don't always tell the full story about things, but it's a good thing to kind of keep your eye on as we head down the stretch. Now, Nick Sirianni became the 8th head coach in NFL history to lead his team to 5-0 in consecutive seasons. So props to Nick Sirianni. But let's hear from him now as he heads to the podium.
Say it. Just, I wanted to love you, Dad. Love you. He beat cancer 3 times. So I'm sure glad I wouldn't be in this position for sure if he didn't. So I love you, Dad. All right. Go ahead.
Anybody? Nick, let me start it. And it's not a negative question. You may assume it's a negative question. You're 5-0. But you clearly left points on it.
Sure, yeah.
Why does it seem to happen each week?
You always, Howard, I'm going to have to go watch the tape. And what I can say is I know we were in 3rd and long in that tight field again. And it's just about staying. It's about what we call on 1st and 2nd down, how we execute. It's everything of what that's going to look like. We're doing a nice job moving the ball up and down the field. And we got to do a better job on 1st and 2nd down in that high red zone. I think that's where it's happening a little bit and into the low red zone. And so, I'll have to look at the tape. But yeah, we left some points on the board today, or on the field today. But credit to them too. It's a good defense with arguably the best player in the NFL over on that other side. And so, sometimes it's them making a play too.
And you brought that up. He's the best player yet. He has never had a sack against the Eagles.
Huh.
Who do you want to credit for that?
Shoot. I'll tell you, I didn't do anything. Great job by the offensive line. We got a great offensive line. That falls a lot on them, right? It's hard to help on that guy with tight ends or backs when he's lined up inside. Now they do a good job of moving him all over the field, but the onus falls all on the offensive line, and so. Man, nobody else I'd rather have than those 5, 6, 7 guys that are in the rotation, and Coach Stoutland, coaching them up.
They want to get Cooper Kupp going early.
Whew. They sure did. Yeah.
What was the key to?
Yeah, we got to do a better job in the first half, but this is a players' league, and good players can take over games. And I got so much respect for Sean and the way he coaches the game, and then for Cooper Kupp. I think my wife told me that Jacob, my son, on Thursday wore Cooper's shirt to school, so we're gonna have to have a conversation about that when I get home. But I thought our defense. Again, can't let him go off like he did in the first half because I think when I looked at the stat sheet, I think he had some 90-some yards in the first half. But excellent job of our defensive staff adjusting. We got to get to those a little bit sooner, but they did a nice job there. They didn't have very many possessions in the first half, though, right? I think they had 3 because we did a good job of keeping the ball away from them. And so, when you have only 3 possessions, sometimes it's hard to, identify exactly what's going on. They're not quite in a groove yet, and one of them was kind of a 2-minute drive, right? So really only 2, but we do have to do a better job coming out of the gates on a player like with the caliber of Cooper Kupp. And then I can't say enough good things about what my thoughts on Matt Stafford, and tough, accurate, knows where to go with the football. I mean, I think that's a good football team that we beat today.
After the songwriting stat, you sprinted down the sideline to celebrate him with them. What was going through your mind? Why were you so worked up about that?
Oh shoot, football's fun, and I'm not gonna hide my emotions. Like it's fun. I can't make plays anymore doing anything, so I celebrate when our guys make big time plays, and it's so much like. I want the culture for the Philadelphia Eagles to be you can have great relationships, have a ton of fun, and still be highly, highly demanding, and that's our culture. And so when it's wrong on the coach's part or on the player's part, we're going to correct it. We're going to be demanding. We're going to hold everybody to the standard, including myself. But when it's time to celebrate and have fun, we're going to do that, and we're not going to apologize about that because we work really hard, and we're a family out there, and we just love having fun together. And so Hassan made a great play. He was our closer today. He had 2 big time sacks. I told you they come in bunches, and man, that was awesome to see.
On the flip side of that, after I believe it was a 3rd down play to Quez, was a screen play. Looked like you were pretty animated.
We're going to be highly demanding. We're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to have great relationships and still be highly, highly demanding. I just told Quez the coaching point on that play. I think I'll just keep that between him and I. I don't know. Maybe y'all can read my lips on that one. But Quez made a big play on the first play of the game to get us out of a little bit of trouble on that play. And we're going to need him to make plays. And I know this. When his speed is on the field, it changes us as an offense. So we'll make the correction. It's just the way football is. There's a lot of emotions in it. And, like I said, that's our culture.
Jalen looked like he some of them are scrambles, elusive plays, breaking tackles, something that we didn't see much of in the first 4 games.
What'd y'all say? They couldn't do it anymore, or something like that.
See it as much, and there's a reason why now all of a sudden we saw a little more of it.
Yeah, it's just that's the way games go, right? That's just the way the games go. We always want him to protect himself, and we always are going to look to protect himself. And there's going to be games, he's got to get freaky out there. I think that's how he says it, right? And so, and I thought he did a really nice job today of making some plays that only he can make.
Hey, Nick, you talked about Hassan and sacks coming in bunches. Dallas, you got him going on that first drive. Huge game. Was that the game plan, or is that just how things work?
Guys. All right. So, like I said, throughout everything, it's always runs through those 3 guys. And and I get it. Y'all got a job to do. And so when you look at the box score afterwards, you're not going to know, hey, this was designed for him or that. And that's okay. I mean, but everything is designed for those 3 guys. And the ball just found his way there today based off of how they were playing. He's always a major part of it. And AJ's always a major part of it. Devontae's always a major part of it. How much did Dallas have today? I don't even know. 117. It's going to go like that, right? It's going to go like that. And now I get it. There was a long stretch where it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it's not, the effort is always there. It's always running through those 3 guys. And it just found his way. The ball found the way. Jalen did a nice job of getting him the football when the coverage, called for it. Like the big one that he had was really designed for Smitty. But I thought that, it looked like they held Smitty. He got held up and he went to the second read. It's just the way it goes. And so we're going to need all 3 of those guys to be the type of offense we know we need to be and want to be. We're going to need all the pass game to continue to go through those 3 guys. So, yeah, good question, though.
What the decision to go for the quarterback sneak at the end of the first half? I guess what went into that, and then how big was it to convert there?
Yeah, huge. That was exciting. That was fun. That was fun right there. They had I imagine that was a great time to be a fan for, they had the big completion for a touchdown. Then we come back down and score a touchdown with no time left. I just have confidence in the play that nobody likes that we run.
Why did you change it? Originally, you weren't going to run that play, right?
What do you mean? Quarterback sneak?
It was under center.
Oh.
I didn't see all the other.
I'm not going to give away those secrets. You don't always have to be a push to run it. I know what happened. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a report today that the competition committee is going to look at it. I know I've asked you a lot about it.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last night in our meeting, we talked a lot about growth mindset. Growth mindset. That was our message this week, that we constantly have to be in this steady growth, right? I think 2 years ago I talked about a flower, right? All right, but we talked about growth mindset, and what we did is we looked at the evolution of what we've been through quarterback sneak. We've grown in that. Not only have we been highly successful, we've grown in that area with different formations we've run it with, right? With et cetera, the fundamentals, that it all starts with our guys. It all starts with Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts. But then the fundamentals that these guys go to, it's like, so we watched our evolution of the play and the growth of that play. It's just a great example of what we want to be as a team. It doesn't look, if we stayed the same in our quarterback sneaks from 2021 till now, defenses would have caught up to it. But we've grown in the areas, and we've grown in our fundamentals. And our players have, Jalen, I don't know if he squats any more than 600 now. I don't think he puts 600 on the bar anymore and actually does it. But he's grown in the weight room. And Kelce, right? And then we watch the rest of the league. And quite frankly, they can't do it like we can. Hey, we'll play by the rules of what they say to do. It's a good play for us. And the competition committee can look at it. But until then, people have to stop it.
What do you think of guys in the secondary? They obviously struggled with Cup in the first half, second half, 1 yards for him.
Yeah.
What does it say about that?
Yeah, I thought the defensive staff, like I said, did a nice job of adjusting. Sometimes, they had they had 2 drives in the first half and then that 2-minute drive. And so would you like to get to some of the adjustments earlier? Yeah, but you still aren't. We held the ball for a long time on offense, so you're still don't know exactly how it's going. Now they were getting them the ball, right? And so it was just about taking them away. Our defensive play, we can make all the adjustments that we want to make, but it's about the players that went out there and executed. So great job by our secondary there of, and it was a group effort right there to take all, because the rookie, man, he's a good player. It was impressive to see him alive. And you can see why he's done what he's done so far. And so I was really impressed with him. But our guys did a really nice job of just stepping up and keeping the momentum that we built going into halftime. We talked about that. This is a game of swings. It's a game of momentum. It's a game of emotion. And we had the momentum. They had the momentum. Then we got the momentum, and we kept it because the defense did a nice job to start that second half, with a stop. Again, I think I said this before you got in here, Jeff. That's okay. But it's first and second down. That's what's going on. We're getting ourselves into third and long, and that's tough. It's tough as the field shrinks. The deeper you get in third down, anytime you get deeper in third down, it's going to be harder to convert. But especially down there, and so we got to put them in better positions to succeed. I got to look at the tape completely, but it's going to always start with us putting them in positions to succeed, and then the execution. And so let me look at the tape. I'll have a better answer for you, but. What's happening is the third and longs. So I know we were 2 of 6 today, really 2 of 5, because I'll take that last one. We were just trying to run out the clock. I didn't want to risk a blocked field goal, and I thought the only way that they could win that game is if they blocked the field goal, returned it, got an onside kick, and did something like that. So that's why I didn't kick a field goal there. So I wouldn't count that one. But 2 of 5 is not our goal, not our standard, and we got to get better at that. But credit to them too. They got good players, and they have a good scheme. I got a lot of respect for that staff over there.
Last day, I think there was 13 out of 18 today, so between the 20s is pretty good. And exactly short, a lot of 37s in there. What was the biggest factor to?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
13 of 18 on third
down. Yep.
So between the 20s is pretty good on third down.
So yeah.
The biggest factor to staying on the field.
Being in manageable. What were we on quarterback sneak? 5 to 6. And nobody wants us to run anymore. So, being 3rd and 1, that's huge, right? You got a lot of confidence in that. And so, being successful on first and second down, our offensive line did a great job, and I thought we were really physical out there today. We got some dirty yards out there in the run game today. And so, it was manageable, but also making some plays on some scrambles on third down, like 3rd and long by Jalen, and some big completions. I think Swift had one nice one out of the backfield on 3rd down. Again, I got to look at the tape, but I felt like we were in 3rd and manageable quite a bit.
All right.
Good, John.
Always good hearing from head coach Nick Sirianni. And we just want to let you guys know, too, at home, if you have a question for Ike, don't forget to Ask Ike, presented by Ponley Hockey. And Ike will do his best to answer your hard-hitting questions, because nothing but hard-hitting journalism in those Ask Ike questions.
Well, I tell you, when you're 5-0, there's not many hard-hitting questions coming in. So
we'll find one.
I've escaped for 5 weeks
Yeah.
here without having any real tough questions.
So if you're watching, guys, get him a hard question right now. But we want to wrap up Nick Sirianni's press conference, because I think it just speaks volumes to that this man was raised in a loud Italian family. The fact that he wants to build a culture here where you can yell at each other and you can ream someone out, and 5 seconds later you can just give him a big kiss on the cheek. And I think that is so evident that that's just how he lives his life. I love the passion. I love that he wants to hold his players accountable in the way that he does. But I love that he stands up for his team. We hear about him talking about the quarterback sneak. He's like, all right, if you don't like it, then just stop it. It's as easy as that. What stood out to you the most about this presser?
Well, he's not going to, and nor should he have to apologize for being successful and having a good football team. It's not his job to make everybody else's job easier to defend his football team. It's his job to take advantage of the talent that he has on his football team. But I'll get to the whole culture setting thing where he can be emotional, he can be passionate, and he displays that on the sideline. I think players don't have a problem with that and will respond to that as long as it's fair and consistent. That's pretty much, if a player knows what to expect and he can anticipate it. Believe me, I grew up in cultures of getting yelled at, whether it was Nick Saban, Jim Johnson, Ray Rhodes. Andy didn't do a whole lot of yelling because if Andy had to yell at you, you knew you did something seriously wrong. So, but I grew up around coaches that got after you. And you as a player just have to know how to take in the good and let whatever it is that you don't think is beneficial to you, let it out the other ear and not take anything personal. I think when you recognize that the coach is coaching everybody, not necessarily the same, but coaching everybody fairly and consistently, players don't have a problem with that. That's just something that players are used to. Yep. And I love the fact that he is unapologetic for being who he is as a coach. And guess what? Sometimes Jalen is going to catch it.
I was going to say, yeah.
And that's where players, the rest of the players, can have a ton of respect for Nick Sirianni because he's not playing favoritism. And he's keeping it real with you. And he's the same coach that'll go out there and defend you. Will jump in front of a bullet, metaphorically, for you to protect you as a player. So players understand that, they respect that, and that's why they've responded to him. He brought up the flower thing from a couple years ago. I still laugh about that. But the one thing I always reflect back on is how many players came out in his defense when he talked about those things and said they understood exactly what he was trying to say and where he was coming from. So that's, to me, a true mark of a good coach is when your players can understand where you come from, and they got your back just like you got their back.
That's the thing. You mentioned that Jalen is going to get the brunt of that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That happened on the sideline today, apparently. You could see it over on the TV broadcast. But then, look, I remember exactly standing on the sideline during training camp. It happening 2 or 3 times just this summer, right? So this is something that happens, right? And so if you're any of those guys in that locker room, you see, like, all right, if Jalen can get it, like, all of us can get it. And look at the way that Jalen responds when that does happen to him, being willing to accept that coaching. That is such a great example, not just for like the players to see like, oh, this is what Nick Sirianni expects from us, what the coaches expect from us, but that's what that's what our teammates expect from each other as well.
That is so huge, Fran. When your star player, your quarterback, can accept hard coaching and it doesn't lead to confrontation or back and forth or hurt feelings, or he doesn't go into a slump because he feels like the coach tried to embarrass him or what have you. Jalen has broad enough shoulders that he understands where coach is coming from. It's not like he's ignoring him. He totally understands. And by the way, before you even start yelling at Jalen, he's already upset at himself for what has happened because he's going to hold himself accountable first and foremost. But his reaction to that type of coaching is so important to the rest of the team, because the rest of the team can see that, and they see not that Coach Sirianni is getting on Jalen, but they see how Jalen is responding to it. So therefore, they know when Coach gets on them, this is how you respond to it. If the quarterback isn't necessarily taking offense to it or isn't going in the dumps over it and can respond to it and play well, then everybody else can. Man, it is so huge to have a leader on your team that can accept coaching. I remember John Harbaugh, real quick. I remember John Harbaugh, and this is me at a lesser role, but being the special teams leader. And there are times where Coach Harbaugh felt like we didn't have a good enough practice or what have you. And there are certain young players that he wanted to get a message across to them. So throughout the years that I played for him, the 7 years that I played for him, I can count on at least one hand and probably use all 5 of the fingers where he told me prior to a meeting, I'm going to get on you a little bit today. I'm going to get on you a little bit today, but it's not about you. It's about everybody else.
Yep.
I get it, Coach. I understand. And believe me, that wasn't something that he may gave you a warning that he was going to get on you. It doesn't mean once that meeting started, everything was roses. So when he got on you, he coached you hard. The point was that if he can coach the best player on this unit in special teams, and I don't necessarily take offense to it, then everybody else should be able to accept that coaching and go out and play hard.
Yeah, and to me, one of my big takeaways from hearing Nick Sirianni speak as well, he talked about growth mindset. He was asked about the quarterback sneak, about the brotherly shove, and I'm going to try not to get as animated as I did a week ago about this topic. But he was asked about it and said, look, we go in and we always are going to drill the fundamentals. He gave credit to Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts. But I think the big thing is you hear him talk about how you start here and you build and you build and you build. But then you look around the league, and the New York Giants this past week, they had 2 guys get injured on that play, right? And coming out of that game, they said, yeah, they never practiced the play. So they had 2 players injured on the play, a play they never practiced, but they watched it. They thought they could do it. Right. They didn't do it well enough. And then there's a report today from a national reporter that, the competitions committee is going to look at it and look at all the injuries that came from it because other teams don't practice the level of detail that the Eagles do and the Eagles coaching staff. So again, it's just, I told myself I wasn't going to get out of it. You feel it building. You feel it building. But
it is brewing.
It just speaks to the culture that is being built here in this building.
It really does.
No, and it's just so annoying because the Giants doing that is almost like that kid in school who just put his name on the group project and tried to get the same grade as you. He's like, no, my friend, you did not practice this. You watched it I'm watching it on TV. I do not have the confidence to be like, yeah, I could go do that. Like that's the equivalent of trying to accomplish this.
By the way, it must not have been.
Insanity.
Hold on, were you in group projects with me at Michigan State? Yeah, that sounds like some of my group projects.
I got you.
It must not have been that dangerous, though, because the Giants, I was watching Red Zone this afternoon, and they ran it like 2 or 3 times today. So it didn't scare them too bad that they were able to run it again today.
No, just kind of putting a button on this whole culture conversation. I think Nick Sirianni's approach to culture very much vibes with the city of Philadelphia. That's what we love. If we can't be out on the field, we want the passion we have inside of us to be out there on the field. Sirianni brings that, but to couple that with the kind of leader that Jalen Hurts is just really, really special because he's that type of player, as you said, he has broad shoulders, he can carry that weight. He seeks that out, and he is a quiet leader. You don't need to be a boisterous, showtimey type of person to be a good leader, and he has showed time and time again he can carry this team in multiple different ways, and he has put that weight on his shoulders and has kind of reached that level each and every time. So I love the combination of these two for that reason. You have the loud, boisterous, emotional head coach, and you have like the calm, cool, collected quarterback. And as Nick Sirianni said, football is fun, and somebody who had a lot of fun today was Dallas Goedert. He had 117 yards today. That is the most he has had since December of 2021 in a game. So let's check in the locker room to see what he had to say after this one.
Yeah, it always feels good. You know, the best part of football for me is catching the ball and running routes, things like that. But I love everything with the tight end position, being able to block and different things like that. But it felt good. That first drive was a lot of fun. But at the same time, we just got to stay patient, and whatever's working, we got to continue to stick with and just wait for the opportunities because with the team we have, we're so special and it might not come every week, but when it comes, we got to make them.
Do you think it's going to be a jumping off point for you in the passing game?
It all depends on what the defense is going to do to us, who the defense wants to stop, and, what the game plan looks like going into the week. And it changes every week. We got a really special offense. We can run the ball. Got great running backs. Got great receivers on the outside. So you just gotta be ready for your opportunities when they come because, it's tough not to throw AJ the ball when he's one-on-one. It's tough not to throw Smitty the ball when he's one-on-one. So you just got to be patient and make the most of the opportunities you get.
Goedert was definitely ready for his opportunity this week. And as he said, it's a really special offense. There's a lot of different options for Jalen Hurts to look at. So each and every week we see someone else flash, which actually leads into our Ask Ike question that we got coming in. They want to know, Ike, who is going to be the offensive player that pops off next week?
Next week?
Going against the Jets.
Against the Jets. Well, I'll tell you, Devontae's been quiet over the past couple of weeks, so I could see the Slim Reaper having a big game next week.
You think Sauce Gardner one-on-one with A.J. Brown, they make that matchup, so now you got Devontae on DJ Reed opposite side.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, if you're the Jets, my goodness, you may need to put 3 people on A.J. Brown over there because this dude just catches everything and runs through you. But, yes, I think next week could be a week where Devontae sort of benefits from roll coverage to A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert could be a big game for Devontae Smith next week.
I like that prediction. I think that'll be. We'll touch on it a little bit later with the Jameson nightcap, but I do like that matchup. The Jets have a very talented defense. They had a big day today in their win over Denver.
Yeah, a bit of a karma type game out there in Denver. We'll leave that to them to discuss and figure out, but it's a lot of ickiness happening over there. But let's get back to the Eagles defense, especially at the end of the game, because this was huge plays coming up with Hassan Reddick, 2 sacks late in the game. That's what Nick Sirianni said too. The sacks come in bunches. Yeah. And to put a period at the end of this sentence in the fourth quarter when maybe they've let teams hang in a little too long, I think spoke volumes to how this defense has progressed.
Yeah, and defensive ends will tell you, man, they love to have the ability to pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback. Those were obvious passing down situations late in the game as the Rams are trying to catch back up to the Eagles. And Hassan Reddick, who's been getting close every week. He got his first sack last week. He got the cast off his thumb. And then you watch him, he's just starting to feel comfortable. And Coach is right. When the sacks come, they come in bunches. We saw it last year with Hassan where he didn't have a sack, I believe, for the first 3 weeks of the season. And then he finished with 16, whatever many sacks he had at the end of the season. You can expect sort of that same type of run on sacks for Hassan going forward because he hasn't lost any ability to get after the quarterback, to bend the corner against these tackles. It's just a matter of getting there and just making the quarterback hold the ball just one more second longer, and he's there for the sack. I think you saw that today. The thing I love about Hassan is his relentless pursuit to get after the quarterback. Not the biggest guy, but he uses all of that athleticism that he has as a slash outside linebacker, defensive end rusher. And, man, those offensive tackles are no match for him coming around the corner.
Yeah, they tried to do the the running back lined up outside the tackle to give him like a little chip.
Right.
The athleticism he showed on that play to be able to turn the corner against a back who, by the way, like Kyren Williams is 5'9". He turned the corner on Kyren Williams, stayed alive, was able to get up and be able to make that play for his second sack. I think to me the big thing when you're talking about pass rushers is the pressure percentage, right? That's why pressures will often tell the story a little bit better than sacks because you can do everything right as a defensive end, as a defensive tackle, as an outside linebacker. You do everything right. But you know what? Someone fell in coverage or a defensive tackle stepped out of the way and now there's a rush lane and you don't get the sack. You get held by the offensive tackle. That happened with Reddick a couple times last week. He drew the hold on one of the Nicholas Morrow sacks, right? So if he doesn't get held, like he can't control if he gets held or not. If he doesn't get held, that's probably a Hassan Reddick sack. So at the end of the day, Reddick has been producing at a high level from a pressure rate standpoint. He's got that cast off. He's finished now for 3 sacks in 2 games. Very good to see for number 7.
He's like a brand new man out there without that cast. It's great to see. And what was also great to not so much see, but hear was the amount of Philly fans that were out there in LA. I don't know if these fans traveled. I don't know if they live there, but it is always good when these road games feel a little like home games. And someone else agreed with that. It was AJ Brown.
I just think like coming into the stadium, man. I said today is gonna be a home game, and that's what it was, And so I just wanted to, change the atmosphere of the game and just let the fans do what they do, and they showed up, and we appreciate them. They all the way out here in LA, across the world, It doesn't go unnoticed, man. We love them, because they started chanting Eagles, you know what I'm saying? So like we hear that, so it was like a home game, so yeah.
Yeah, that Philly love never really goes unnoticed. We love hearing it sitting at home here, South Philadelphia, being able to listen to those Eagles fans out there in LA.
Yeah, and A.J. Brown talking about it. I know Jalen Carter, Ike, talked about it after the game as well. Gave credit to the fans for one of his sacks where he said, yeah, the Rams had to kind of change up the way that they were going through their cadence and their snap count because of the loud noise from the fans in their own stadium, and they picked up on what the changes were that let him get off the ball for that sack in the third quarter.
Yeah, and listen, shout out to the Philadelphia fans this weekend. I mean, you got the Phillies down in Atlanta for a big NLDS series, so they're down there. You got fans that are heading down to Atlanta, and then you had fans that were already planning to go to Los Angeles and take over that stadium. So our fan base a little split across the country as far as where we could be at. But you know what? I don't care how many people it is there. We're always going to be heard. We're going to be heard. And look at this. I mean, this is in the opposing team stadium where you see that happening at. And I know Los Angeles isn't the biggest football town, biggest sports town, so I get that. But my goodness, man, that's more credit to our fans and their dedication.
Yeah.
Going across country, making sure that our players hear them out there in the stands. I mean, that's what that's all about. That's them going out there and saying, we're out here with you.
Do you have any games from when you play where that stick it right away?
The Miami game. The Miami Dolphins game in 2003. I think it may have been.
That was the Buck Hauler diving for the pilot.
Yeah, and I think it may have been the first game where we literally started taking over opposing team stadium and made it a thing. we always went down to Washington and took over their stadium.
Sure.
Yeah, we do that every year. So, but even in Dallas, even in the old Texas Stadium, that our fans can be heard in their stadium. So there's only a couple stadiums in the league that it would be difficult for us to sort of take over. Pittsburgh, Green Bay, these stadiums, their fans are so in tune with their teams. They don't usually give up their tickets. But if you're in a fan base where you don't have the diehard fans that we have, believe me, our fans are coming to town. We're looking for tickets, and when we get in the stadium, we're going to be heard. I don't care if it's 10,000, 20,000, however many it is, we're going to be heard.
No, they're racking up their frequent flyer miles for sure, and then they are taking seats and taking names. Now, the Eagles have won 22 of the last 23 regular season games that Jalen Hurts has been the starting quarterback for, and he was just at the podium, so let's listen in.
Jalen, what do you mean for Dallas Goedert to get involved early and for him to kind of set the tone there with multiple catches and obviously the touchdown that he had over the drive?
Yeah, I think I think everybody generally, took advantage of opportunities when their number was called, and so that's something I can appreciate. I think we can appreciate that as a team, and just happy we found a way to win today.
On that drive late in the first half, how much do you appreciate the aggressiveness from the coaching staff, allowing you guys to drive down the field?
Yeah, I think it's you always want to be aggressive, right? The moment you stop playing the game the way you want to play the game and being aggressive, you're doing yourself a disservice, and it's just a matter of execution and trust, and we did a great job in that. On that play, obviously it helped us with the penalty they gave us, and then they gave us another one in the low red zone and get on the one. So, I just think it was great operation in that point. I think, we have to be better in the red zone in general. But I think we're taking steps in a positive direction. You look at how well we played on third down. I don't know the numbers, have not seen the tape yet, but it seemed to be pretty efficient, and whether that's off-schedule plays or on-schedule plays, whatever it is, it's just about converting, and I think that's the same thing, for winning, to be frank with you. So the growth mindset is a real thing here, and it starts from top down, and every individual truly has that. Every individual on this team is truly hungry to be their best self and be the best they can be for the team and the sake of everyone around them. So that's a constant maturation process there, and we're just happy to be able to continue to win and grow.
What decides for you? Nicky described it as you get freaky out there. What decides that you need to do that and when you don't?
He thought that was funny. He thought that was funny. He got a little giggle out of him. That's what they call it. It's just something that happens. This is this is a result-based business, and so you're judged on what you do and the outcome of what you do. No one really, cares about how you do it. They just want to see if you win or you lose, or if it works or if it doesn't. And so, however we find a way to do that, like I said, whether it's 150 by one guy toting the ball, if it's a guy that has a hot hand in the receiver room, whatever it is, the winning is the main thing, and that's probably there's nothing more important than that. Winning is truly the main thing, and challenging yourself every day to play to a standard that you desire and want to, and you work to play to, is a priority as well. And so we just want to continue to grow.
If I could just follow up, though, you were asked a lot of questions the last 3-4 weeks just about the running and how teams are maybe spying you and shading you, and maybe people wondering what's different this year, protecting yourself more. We didn't see any sliding today. Was it anything conscious in your mind that you're just doing things differently?
Things come when they're supposed to. I think it's as simple as that. Things come when they're supposed to.
You mentioned the third downs, Jalen. I think you started 11-13 on third downs, which is pretty effective, and you did it in all kinds of ways. Is that just sort of a snowball effect where everybody's executing? How do you attribute for that kind of level of success?
I think anytime you have success, it's due to execution, everybody being on the same page, and then ultimately making it happen, and I said, it's heavily based off of results. So we just want to continue to find ways to get it done. Get it done and then find ways to convert, find ways to win. And we have parts of our game that we still need to elevate. We have parts of our game that we still need to challenge ourselves and improve on, and we'll do that. And with the leaders we have on this team and the eagerness to do what's out there for us to do, just continue to grow. That is truly my mindset, and that is this team's mindset.
Jalen, when you guys went for the touchdown at the end of the first half, on the tush push or brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it.
I've never called it that.
What do you call it?
Not that.
All right. Well, anyway, how much did you guys want to run that play, even though everybody probably knew it was coming and stuff, and just what does it say about its effectiveness?
Yeah, not to pour more water into that jug, but it's something that we've been able to do at a high level, and it's clear that that doesn't always work for everyone else, and so we just want to continue to execute whatever it's called, whether it's that or obviously in the red zone, trying to do better in those areas, and then just executing on first down, first and second in situations, and third down, and just want to continue to grow. It's truly about growing.
The length of some of these drives, when you can do that to an opposing defense, especially in the second half, is that a goal, or is that just sort of just matriculating them?
It's just a matter of execution, pure execution within the given situations. You have different situations that come in the game, and you prepare for every one of them. It's just a matter of executing at a high level when those situations arouse. And so you just have to challenge yourself to do that at a high level. And, we're not necessarily looking at the clock in this situation. We're just trying to keep the chains moving and be efficient and effective with whatever the play is called. And so I think takes a great level of communication to obviously execute at a high level. And I think that's something that's still, ongoing. And so I think we're still growing. We're still building as a team, and I honestly feel that every other team in the NFL right now is doing the same thing. And so we just want to continue this steady climb of being eager every day to get better, and being intentional with our time at the building and on the field, and pulling the most out of ourselves.
You mentioned the red zone. It's 4-13 the last three games. Is there something consistent? What's happening that's preventing you guys?
Just a lack of execution. And I think that's something that's developing in itself. But that's purely on us and us controlling the things that we can and ultimately finding an identity in that area. And so, I have no doubt. In that coming here soon. But it's just a matter of just, being diligent with it. We're obviously diligent with it. I think, when you lack there's something else, you do something else. You play complementary football and you kind of play at a high level in other situations of the game. You're able to rebound from that. You're able to come back from that because of the complementary ball that you're playing. And I think the way the defense played in the second half, it was outstanding. So, we just need to continue to put it all together. Obviously, winning is the main thing, and I'll say that day in and day out. But there's a standard that we want to play to. But winning is the main thing. And so we just want to continue to grow, enjoy these moments, come out to L.A. That's a long flight, 6 hours from coast to coast. Come out here and get a win after the long week of prep and kind of a different type of work week, given the travel circumstances and time and waking up in the middle of the night, because sleep is off. All of those little things. It's very rewarding to get a win against a really good team that won the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I want to keep going.
Okay, thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
Jalen Hurts talking a lot there about execution and how that execution comes into play in a lot of different ways, both good and bad. In red zone, he said the execution just simply wasn't there. But it seems each and every week this Eagles team is fine-tuning just another different layer of their game. What would each of you pinpoint as that layer that they jumped up a bit in this week?
Well, I thought the defense played well in the second half. I mean, I think, going up against a Sean McVay type of offense, it can lead to a lot of confusion, a lot of mishaps, miscommunications on the back end of your defense. And next thing you know, you're looking at a bunch of explosive plays. So I thought you saw some of that in the first half, although it was only 3 possessions in the first half, right? I mean, like the Eagles and the Rams, they had such long drives, scoring drives in the first half. They didn't have many possessions. That gave them time at halftime to make some adjustments. And I thought coming out in the second half, they made those adjustments. We're going to need to continue to build off of that moving forward because the quarterback play is going to get better as the season goes along here as far as what we have to defend against.
To me, this is a really good question on your part, and I'm going to do something that I absolutely hate doing, and that's make a statement that is completely anecdotal without any data to support whatsoever.
We love to see it.
I'm going to say that it felt like, watching the game, that Jalen Hurts attacked down the field more against the blitz. Over the course of this season, he's been really good numbers-wise against the blitz. If you look at his completion percentage, his efficiency has been very, very good. But it felt like in this game there were more vertical throws and also more shots to the intermediate area of the field. We'll say between 8 and 15 yards against the blitz. It wasn't just a 3-yard completion, a 5-yard completion. So being able to see some of those throws in this game, again, just kind of showing further comfort in the offense and with the play structures and with some of these targets. I mean, Dallas Goedert having that big day. A number of those big plays were against the blitz. Same with A.J. Brown as well, which is something I know we're going to hit on here in a second.
Exactly. There was a huge momentum swing in the end of the first half for the Philadelphia Eagles. They had, 35 seconds left to march back down the field and answer back a Rams touchdown, and they did just that with a huge help from a beautiful play from A.J. Brown, and that's what Fran broke down in this week's Ricoh Review.
All right, so for this week's Ricoh Review, we're going to look back at the most pivotal play in the first half. It happened on the Eagles' final drive offensively, a 36-yard completion from Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown. It's 3rd and 1, and what you're going to get here from the Rams is you're going to get a 5-man pressure. They're going to blitz both of their linebackers here standing up off the ball. So you're going to get a 5-man pressure. That means you've got man-to-man coverage here. A.J. Brown one-on-one with the corner. There's not going to be anybody in the middle of the field. You're going to get Dallas Goedert. He's going to run a little route over the ball, and these two routes are all going to work vertically. So there's going to be plenty of space behind Dallas Goedert's route right here in the middle of the field, and that's where A.J. Brown's going to work it. Now, we're going to let this roll for a second, and I want you to watch A.J. Brown here because he is so strong through contact. He fights through that initial jam. You get a really aggressive press coverage technique there from the corner and Darion Kendrick. And this past week on Eagles Game Plan, Eagles pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo came on and talked about A.J. Brown's releases against press coverage and how important it was for him to push vertically. And you could see after fighting through that jam, he still works vertically up the field. And now what's he going to do? He's going to put his foot in the ground and he's going to separate. Now, before we let this run, I want to again bring the focus back to Jalen Hurts because, yes, this is going to be a great one-handed grab from A.J. Brown, but this is a beautiful, firm touch throw from Jalen Hurts over the top of the route from Goedert, away from the rush, and right into where only A.J. Brown can get it. We can let this roll. This is a great throw from Jalen Hurts under pressure with the blitz. Outstanding grab from A.J. Brown. You tack on an extra 15, and the Eagles go on to score a touchdown there at the end of the first half. That is a big-time route from A.J. Brown, a big-time catch from A.J. Brown. The O-line held up well in protection, and he had an awesome throw. Outstanding touch there from Jalen Hurts. 36 yards. The Eagles get a touchdown just before half and retake the lead.
That was a big-time catch from A.J. Brown, but does it put him in the race for Toyota Player of the Week? Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. Now, here are your options. Jalen Carter, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, his first multi-sack game of the season and also his career because the kid's a rookie. Dallas Goedert, 117 receiving yards, most since December 2021. And then Jalen Hurts, QB1, 25 for 38, 68 rushing yards, and then 2 TDs. So A.J. Brown is not a selection, even though he had that beautiful one-handed catch. But you got Jalen Carter, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, a little bit of a Jalen sandwich there. Yeah. Where are you going?
Well, I'm tempted to go with Dallas Goedert just because I picked him to be my guy this week.
You're already getting credit for that, so
Yeah.
Exactly. So I can move off of that.
Down. Yep.
I got to go with QB1.
All right.
QB1, man. I mean, he really could have been the player of the game over the last 3 weeks, but we've been generous and we passed it out to A.J. Brown. We passed it out to DeAndre Swift. No, it's time to give QB1 his love for player of the week. I mean, 3 straight weeks. People worried about the pass. People worried about the passing game. He lit up Tampa Bay on Monday night. He came back from that, lit up Washington last week in somewhat of a shootout to lead the team to victory. And this game today against the Rams might have been his best game of the season when you look at the totality, throwing the football, running as well, big throws. I mean, that drive right before the half, that throw to A.J. Brown, my goodness. Yeah, Jalen, man, he deserves it this week.
As bad as it's bad TV for me to agree with you. So I hate to agree with you here. I'm going to agree. I think Jalen, I think this was his best game of the season. He made some big time throws in this game. We broke a couple of them down already. Down in the red zone, vertical throws. He didn't take a lot of negative plays in this game. I think you look at Jalen Hurts, what he did as a runner. He ran for 70 yards on top of it. We haven't hit on that. I think when you look at Jalen Hurts, his performance, he is the winner in my book today.
You're at a loss for words.
Well, I'm at a loss for words as to people that are concerned about this kid.
Yeah.
Whether or not he regressed. Like, these are conversations that were being had 2 weeks ago. Did he take a step back? Did he regress? What's wrong with Jalen? What's wrong with the passing game? My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, relax and trust the process. This kid is the real deal. First of all, he's all about winning. That's all he does is win. And then secondly, he is a selfless player, and he's not concerned about his own stats. And now he's putting these games together. So when I think back to a couple weeks ago and I hear all the concern over Jalen and whether or not is he the same player he was last year in his MVP season, I dare to say he's better right now. He is better, and he's looked better each game.
Yeah, to me, I think you look at Jalen and you look at all the other quarterbacks around the NFL, and I think that's sometimes we get stuck in our own bubble. And this isn't a local like Philadelphia thing. This is all fan bases across the NFL. You get stuck in your own bubble, and you're worried about your team, your quarterback, your running back, your pass rusher, your corner, and then you don't realize oh, this is life in the NFL. This is what happens. Josh Allen comes out week 1, and everyone's hitting the panic button. The Bills are done. The Bills are done. And Josh Allen goes on and has a crazy superhuman 3-week stretch, right?
Yes.
Joe Burrow, he's done. They got to sit him down, put him on injury reserve, and then he goes and he has the huge day today against the Arizona Cardinals, right? We just have to, you got to ride the wave a little bit. That's exactly what happens over the course of a season.
Well, some teams do hit the panic button on their quarterback situation, and some teams need to, and that is the upcoming opponent for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a segue for you. They're going to be taking on the New York Jets next week in our Jameson nightcap. Now, this is a matchup that held a little bit of a different weight at the beginning of the season when we thought it was going to be Jalen Hurts versus Aaron Rodgers. We know it's going to be Zach Wilson instead, but they are coming off of a nice karmatic defeat over the Denver Broncos, 31-21. And interestingly enough, their last road win was about a year ago against the Denver Broncos. So the Jets are they're a mercurial team. Sometimes they can look like okay, and sometimes they can look like the Jets. So which Jet team do you expect to see?
Well, I think you should expect to see a team that's getting better each week and gaining a little more confidence with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. The last 2 weeks, he's played decent football. They didn't beat the Chiefs on Sunday night 2 weeks ago, but I thought he gave them a chance to beat the Chiefs that night. And then to go on the road today against Denver, not a great team, but a team that's really on their level, but to beat them in their house, that's a good win. I look at his numbers, and what it says to me is that they're not necessarily putting the ball in Zach Wilson's hands and saying, go out there and throw us the victory. Breece Hall had a great game today, 177 yards rushing. I say all of this to say, don't overlook the opponent. Make sure you put the proper amount of respect and preparation into this game. It's on the road. That's a young, hungry team that's looking for something to continue to build upon. We don't need to be one of their building blocks, right? So you go up there, you take care of business, and I'll be the first to say it, as we'll hear it throughout the week. The Jets have never beat the Eagles in the history of the two franchises.
Wow.
The only two teams that Aaron Donald has never had a sack against face each other. To me, I think when you look at this Jets offense, The offensive line has been a bigger issue to me than Zach Wilson, and they had another injury today. Elijah Vera Tucker, their right tackle, who was a high pick for them, a first-round pick a couple of years ago, he went down with an injury, and the prognosis early on does not seem like it's going to be favorable to him playing next week. So that's going to be a big loss for that team, a team that has already struggled. Their starting left tackle was already on injured reserve in Dwayne Brown. So I think this is another game where we're going to go in and say, okay, line of scrimmage, this is where the Eagles can make hay. That Jets defense, though, legit. That is a fast group. They've got guys up front, very, very deep. The back end, they've got Sauce Gardner, some other playmakers there. So there are certainly going to be tests here with this football game.
Yeah, this is by no means a gimme game for the Eagles, and they cannot and they will not be able to treat it like that. So Week 5 is now in the books. The Eagles advanced to 5-0 with the Niners having yet to finish Week 5. The Eagles sit atop the NFC for now. The next week, we said they will be taking on the New York Jets. It's a 4:25 kick, and the three of us will be here to chat all about it. So make sure to join us. Thanks so much for catching up with us and helping us recap this game. For everyone here, for Ike, Fran, and myself, I'm Marisa Pilla. Thanks for joining us on the Eagles Postgame Show.